the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good afternoon, welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Just Dafit as we continue with Gittin, Daf Mem number 40. Great share for you today. We'll continue talking about if you're mafkir the Evid, or if you're mafkir the Evid and you die, to your children who inherit the Evid, partially inherit the Evid, do they have the ability to make them a Ben Choron or not? And we'll continue talking about the difference between a get Isha and a get Evid, a get Shechor, where I explained yesterday in Ben Zion the fundamental difference between the two of them, and I'll bring a proof from today's Daf Memam and Beis to what I said yesterday. Specifically, I'll elaborate on that in Iyot Ben Zion. The Gemara will start on the bottom of Lamed Hedam and Beis, the second to last line, the last word. Amar Reb Zera, Amar Reb Chanina, Amar Rashi, Amar Rebbe. Evet shenasa es baschor and pnei Rabo. An Evet who marries a Jewish woman, she's free. They Rabbo. Normally it's Isser Midoraisa to marry her. Yatsa lecheros. We assume not that he goes out lecheros now. We assume that the Rebbe freed him. Otherwise, he would not have married a Baschor, and the Baschor would not have agreed to marry him. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Kach Yesh Biyadcha Vanishona. Rabbi Yochanan says, is it really true? I have a different teaching, which is that Kosev Shtar Erison L'Shivchaso. The Brisa says if you write a Shtar Erison, you can get engaged, right? Shtar Erison presumably means a Shtar Kiddushin, the same thing. You can Kaddish with a Shtar L'Shivchaso to your Shivcha. Now, you're the Rav, you're a free Jewish person, you can't marry a Shivcha. Ramei Omer Mekudeshes. Ramei says Mekudeshes. We'll have to explain the Machlokas. So Chacham Omer Mekudeshes. Chacham, we hold like they say she's not Mekudeshes. So we don't assume that if he's going to marry his Shivcha, that we assume he freed her in the past. So the Gemara says, "Kedama Rabba Rav Shela Ksharabo Hiniach Lo Tefillin." Later on, Rabba Rav Shela says we only assume the Rebbe freed him when the Rebbe put on his master's tefillin. An Eved does not have to wear tefillin. He's only chayav mitzvahs like a woman. A woman does not chayav mitzvah tefillin. It's a mitzvah seish man grama. So therefore, he must have freed him. Hachanam Ksharabo Hisio Isha. Here we're talking about where the Rebbe, he was a shadchan. The master was a shadchan. He found a woman for a bas chorin for his eveds. Therefore, we assume in that case, the Rebbe previously freed him. So let's just compare the two cases. When he comes to setting up his eved with the bas chorin, we assume he did that. He freed his eveds. He can marry the bas chorin. But the Brisa or Meir and the Chamim, when he sends a shtar erison to a shifcha, so he did an isser. He didn't free the shifcha before he sent their shtar erison. So Amar of Nachman Yitzchak Hachamay Eskinan, the Amar La Si Bo V'Hiskachi Bo. The Machlok Shari Meir and the Chum is a different thing, where he says he gives a get or the shtar erison, and it's really a shtar shechor. He says you're free in the shtar and be mikudesha with it simultaneously. Or Meir Savar Yesh B'Lashon Hazel Lashon Shechor. Right, when you write in the shtar Si Bo V'Hiskachi, take this and be mikudesha with it. According to Meir, part of that language that you're Meshachar, that language is not sufficient for freeing the Eved, so therefore he's not free. And the Shivcha is not free. You can't marry him. Amr Shub ben Levi, Eved Sheiniach Tefillin B'nei Rabbo Yasa L'Cheres. Right, an Eved who puts on tefillin in front of his Rebbe, we assume the Rebbe had freedom. Mesivei, Love Mano Rabbo. If the master borrowed money from his Eved, or Shasau Rabbo Avitropos, or he made his Eved the CEO over his business of Sheniach Tefillin, or he put on Tefillin with Bnei Rab in front of his Rebbe. Oh, Shakara Shlosh Psukim Beis HaKnesses Bnei Rab, or he had an Aliyah in the Torah in front of his Rebbe. Harei Liyasa L'Cheres. The Brisa says we don't assume he freed him. Amar Rabba Rav Shela Ksharabo Hiniach Lo Tefillin. What we're talking about over here is when the Rebbe himself put the Tefillin on him. If the Rebbe himself put the Tefillin on him, obviously he must have freed him himself. Kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar Yochanan Misha Amar B'Shas Misaso. Someone who says when he's dying, Plonis Shivchasi Ali Shtabdu Ba La'achar Mosi. He says basically to his children, this Shivcha, she worked hard. Don't work her after I die. According to this teaching of Yochanan, it's basically the words of the father are sufficient grounds for us to force the Yorshim to write a get Shechor. Amru Lafanov. So Rabbi Yami Riasi heard what Rabbi Yochanan said. Rabbi Yata Modeh Shemaneh Avadim. All he meant to say over here is that his children, not that they have to free her, give her a get shechur, in which case that if she has future children, they're not avodim. No, all he meant to say is don't work her. She's still a shivcha, and if she has children, she'll produce avodim for me, for the children, but for my children, the owner's children, but just don't work her, don't work her like a shivcha. Kiyasa Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Amar Rav Yochanan, he had a different version than Rav Yochanan said, Misha Amar B'shas Misasa Ploni Shivchasi Kuras Ruach Astali. Before he died, he says, she did good stuff for me. She took care of the house. She did good work for me. Yasala Kuras Ruach. Do something that will make her happy. Kofin Esa Yorshin also not Kuras Ruach. We forced the Yorshin to do something nice for my time. Mitzvah L'Kayim Divrei HaMeis. Now, it doesn't really say explicitly in this version of Rabbi Yochanan that we right to get shechur. It could be we just tell them not to work her so hard. And the reason they have to listen is mitzvah l'kayim divrei hameis. Right, that was the reason in the previous discussion also. Mitzvah l'kayim divrei, you're supposed to listen to what your father says. Amar ha-memar ha-mafker avdo, if you make your evet hefker, also evet ein lo takana. He has no takana. Meaning, get shechur doesn't help. My time, al-gufei lo kani lay. Right, once he is mafkir, the evet, he has no monetary attachment to the evet. Isuruhu de'ika gabei. However, it remains the fact that he's an evet partially, because he didn't free him, he didn't give him a get shechur. That is remaining by the master. He has to give him a get shechur to remove the iser. Then he's a ben chor, he can marry a bas chorin, or a bas Yisrael. However, since he was mafkir him, he can't give him a get shechur anymore. Amalei Rav Ashi lameimar, Rashi tarmeimar, Rahamar ulam Rabbi Yochanan. So whether he's makdish his evet or he's mafkir his evet, yatsa l'cheira, start out get shechur, implying what? That you give him a get shechur, even though you're mafkir him, you give him a get shechur and he's freed. Amrulei sarich ve'en lo takana. What Rav meant to say was that he needs a get shechur, but ein lo takana. There's nothing that can help him because the get shechur would be ineffective. Ika de Amri. Some say a different version. Amar meimar mafkir avdo mace. He is mafkir his evet, and then he dies. Also, evet ain't lo takana. And in that case, the evet has no takana. My time, makufe lo kanile. Right? Once he's mafkir him, he doesn't own the body of the evet. Yisuruhu de'ika gabei. So he still has, technically, according to this second statement on Meimar, if the owner was still alive, he can write a get shechur. But the Yisur lebrei lo moris, according to the second version, he can't give that kinyan iser to the Yorshin. He can't let them inherit that, and therefore they can't write a get shechur for him. We had that story from before. Dimi said the name of Rabbi Yochanan, right, where the woman came in front of the person, the master was about to die, and he said, basically, don't work her. So basically, he was signaling to his children to write a get shechur for us. You see, the children could, even though he is mafkir, he doesn't want to mishabed her anymore. He's giving up authority on her. We're kofin the children to write a get shechur. You see, the children do inherit the iser; they could be mishabed her. So the Gemara says the Rav Dimi ta'usahi. Rav Dimi's version of Yochanan was a ta'us. The real version of Yochanan was the second version. I'm really my ta'usa. What was the mistake that Rav Dimi? Why is it wrong what Rav Dimi said? D'lam Rav Lashon shechur. Right, must be because the master, he didn't say free this woman. He said don't be mishabed her anymore. However, if he did say lashon shecher, achanami, it would work. So you see, you could inherit the iser to the children. I'm really Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda severely. I hold like Shmuel Bar Yehuda's version of Rabbi Yochanan, where he wasn't talking about, where he was saying koras ruach, she did nice stuff for me, do nice stuff for her. But it wasn't basically telling the children to give her a get shechur, because they can't do that. How diskarta the avdi is daven lovik kochavim. There was a certain grouping of avodim that a Jew owned that he sold to a non-Jew. He sold a bunch of avodim to a non-Jew. Kalum ravasa basrai. The non-Jewish owner, the second owner, who was non-Jewish, he died. Also, they came in front of Ravina. Amar hu zilu ahadru abnei marvasa kamai. Go to the first master's children. He wasn't alive, the first master. And they let them write a get shechur. Ravina said to Ravina, he can't, there's no way of fixing it. Basically, the Yorshin can't free him. Amar lo anak Rav Dimi Sfir. I held like Rav Dimi, the first version of Yochanan they could. Amar le Rav Dimi Tausahi. That was a mistake. Amar lo mai Tausa. What's the mistake? Lo Amar b'lashon sheker. Didn't say lashon sheker. Hamar b'lashon sheker. Here, in our case, with this group of Avadim, he did say b'lashon sheker. Right? He sold them to the non-Jew. Hachanami. How does Hachanami would work, and that's what happened to Rabbi Hilchas Ravina. The Gemara Paskins like Ravina. Ravina said that the children do inherit the right to Meshachrer, the Eved, if the master is Mafkir, not like a Maimar. Hahu Avda the Beitrei. There was a certain Eved that belonged to two partners. Kam Chad Minayu B'Shichrei Lepalge. He freed his half of the Eved. Amar Idach, the other one said, Hashta Shami Be'Rabbanim Mafsudul Mina. We're going to learn tomorrow, I believe. There's a Mishnah that says, Beishamai and Beisel. What have you? Have a man who's Chatzi Eved Chatzi Bas Ben Chorin. How does that happen? You have two. He's owned by two people. One frees him, one doesn't free him. So Beisel says he's Ovid his Rebbe one day. One day he's free. One day he gets to work for himself. One day he works for the one master that he still has. And the other one says, or Beisel says to Beishamai still I forgot. They said, no, we have to free him because he can't marry anybody. He can't marry Bas Chor, and he can't marry a Shivcha because he's half free and half not free. So therefore, we have to free him. They're going to free. They're going to hear about it. They're going to make me free him. I don't want to free this Evan. Azal Akni B'no Katan. He only had another partner. He had a young son who was under the age of mitzvah. Shachar of Yosef. So he was makna him. He gave the other portion of him to his son. So now it was. Well, at least his portion, he divided his portion with his son. So now it's two people owning him. Or at least the person, the partner was mafkir his other half. So therefore he took on another partner, his son took on the other half. Shachar Rav Yosef braid the Rava like made Rav Papa. Rav Yosef, the son of Rava, sent this case to Rav Papa. Shalach le, he sent him, Kasher asa ken yasa lo gmul yashav lo barosha. Just like he did, we're going to think of a smart way of making sure he's free. Ana Kimlan Bianuka, we know this child that he gave him half the Evid's rights to them. Karva Daita the Gabazuze, he likes money. Young children like money. Mokwina Leapatropis, right? He's not a bar mitzvah, he's not capable of handling his own business dealings, but we set up an apotropis, basically a trust fund, someone who's in charge of his possessions. We offered him some money for the Eved, for his portion of the Eved. And we forced Apotropis to write a get shechrer in the name of the child. And therefore, only half of him is owned. And then the Rabban could force the father to be Meshacher. I'm talking about Omer Asisi, or top of Mem Beis. Omer Asisi Ploni Avdi Ben Chorin. The person says, I made this Eved. He writes his name, or we'll see he's writing his name. Ben Chorin, also Ben Chorin, or he says this Eved is a Ben Chorin. Harehu Ben Chorin. The halacha is that's a lashon of shechra. Harehu Ben Chorin. Asau Ben Chorin. Harehu Ben Chorin. Any three of these languages, Harehu Ben Chorin. He's freed. Esenu Bo Chorin. If he says I'm going to free him, Rabbi Omer Kana. Rabbi says the fact that I said I'm going to do it, it's like I already did it, and therefore he's freed. Chachamim lo Kana. Chachamim say it doesn't work. We pass on the Chachamim. This whole machlokes is talking about where I write these languages in a shtar. Just saying languages that I'm going to make him a ben chorin, or I make him a ben chorin, or I made him a ben chorin, is ineffective. Amir, it has to be b'shtar. Like I explained yesterday in Ben Sion, that really avodim are like karkos. So the only way of transferring the freedom of the Eved to himself is through a shtar. It has to be a shtar. A shtar is representative of karkos. Therefore, it has to be written in a shtar. I'm going to talk about these languages in Yom Ben Sion, especially this language Asisi. I made him, right? I did in the past, right? When you magarish a woman, you can't say, right, girashti. That's not a good language to write, I believe, in a get. You have to say, through the get, I am magarish, or harehi muteres, harehi megureshes. You have to write that. We'll talk about that noteworthy difference between Eved and Isha, and build on what we said yesterday in Yom Ben Sion, in Ben Sion on Daf Mem of today. Nasati saw the plonis leploni. He says, I gave this field to a certain man, leploni, and the sooner leploni, or this field is given to ploni, harei shalo, or this field belongs to him, harei shalo. It is a valid transfer of ownership. Ednena leploni, he says, I'm going to give it to him. Rameir Omer Kana. Rameir says we assume he gave it to him. Chum Lo Kana. Chum say he's not. He's not Kana until he brings proof. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, V'kulam Ishtar, like Rabbi Yochanan said before, when you transfer ownership of land, it has to be through a shtar. You can't transfer it through Amira. Tana Rabbanan, Omer Isisi Ploni Avdi Ben Chorin. He says, I made this Eved a Ben Chorin. V'hu Omer Lo Asani. And the Eved contradicts him. He says, no, you never freed me. Chayshina and Shema Zika Lo Agdi Acher. Who would believe? We'll leave the owner, because it's possible that the Eved didn't know about it, and he was Mezakeh, right? We learn like the Rabbanan say that if the free and Eved is schus, that he can marry, he can be a Ben Chorin, he can do all the mitzvahs, he can marry a Bas Chorin, so it's a schus for him, so maybe he did it when he wasn't aware, and therefore we trust the owner more than the Eved, because the Eved didn't know about it. Katavti v'nasati lo v'hu omer lo kasav li v'lo nasam. However, if the master says, I wrote a shtar and I gave it to him, and he says, no, I never got one, how does Baldin kamei edim dami? Here they're arguing about whether he actually wrote it and gave it to him. So he would know about this, David. So therefore, who do we believe more? We believe the person, the Baldin, the one who is irrelevant to whether he's free or not. We believe him more than mei edim. It's like mei edim. It's better than Edom, better than proof. Edom, Baldin, Baldover is more nemoyas than Edom. Haomer Nasati Sada Plonis Ploni. He says, I gave this field to a certain man. Now the man denies it, doesn't want the field. He does get the field. Because we assume that it's a schus, it's a present to get another field. So maybe he did it through a third party, and that's why he doesn't know about it. Again, the same thing if he says, I wrote a shtar matana and I gave it to him, and I never got it. So he believed the Baal Dafar, they never got it. So where it says, Mi ochel peros, in this case where he wrote a shtar matana, the person denies it and never got it. Who gets to eat the peros? The fruits of the field? While they're disputing this, whose fruits are they? Whose field is it? Rav Chisda Amar, no sin ochel peros, right? Like the Gemara says, we believe the Baal Dafar. So there was never a transfer of ownership. So the Nosei, the person who gave the land, who used to have the land or still has the land, he gets to eat the payros. So Rabba says it's a suffix, we're not sure. Therefore, we give the payros over to a third party. You put it in a trust fund, and we wait until Eliyahu comes and tells us who the halacha is. Below pligi, they're not arguing Rav Chisda and Rabba. Haba Abba Haba Bra. When it comes to the father, right, the father who was supposedly given this shtar matana, this field, we believe 100%, right? Who does Baldin Kamei Edim Dam. And therefore it's not his field at all. And the payros go back to the Nosei. All Rabba was talking about, where he says it's Meshalshan as payros, you put it in a state, you put it on a trust fund, that's talking about when the son of the person, right? He doesn't know all the things that his father does. He believes, he's saying, Torah Safek, my father didn't get this shtar matana from this person. But he doesn't know for sure. Since he doesn't know for sure, it's not a Tainas Bari, it's a Tainas Shema, it's a claim of Torah Safek, and therefore we're not sure who the payros belong to. Did they belong to the Nosein, or maybe it was an actual transfer ownership, and they belong to the person who was Makabel, and now they belong to the son who inherited it. Hope you enjoyed today's share. Stay tuned for Enoch Ben Sion, where I elaborate on what I talked about yesterday. There's a get shichrur for an Eved and a get Gittin Nashim for a woman, a very fundamental difference. Enoch Ben Sion coming up next.